There's a lot of ads out there right now as political candidates try to get their message to you. I'm Ben Weinman. Now you can watch all the Help Me Ben Truth Tracker episodes on nonstoplocal.com/truth tracker. Our goal is to help you get the best information to make your decision this election season.
A new Help Me Ben Truth Tracker drops every Saturday at 8 a.m. on the Nonstop Local streaming app. Nonstop Local is your election headquarters on TV and stream. We're on it.
Folks, I get it. You've seen plenty of political ads over the past few months. They are everywhere, like a fire hose you can't turn off, each one making statements in support or denial of a certain candidate. But it's those statements of fact that my Help Me Ben team and I are going to tackle over the next few weeks, making sure that our political candidates here in Montana are being truthful and right in their presentation of those facts, the facts, the facts. Tonight, an advertisement from Montana Senator Jon Tester. And let's start by showing you the 30-second ad in its entirety.
I'm Jon Tester, and I approve this message.
I'm a lifelong Republican.
I'm a lifelong Republican.
I'm going to vote for Donald Trump, but I'm voting for Jon Tester.
I'm voting for Jon Tester.
John got over 20 bills signed into law by President Trump.
He stood up to Biden on the Keystone Pipeline and protected our Second Amendment rights.
He passed the PACT Act for veterans with toxic exposure.
His Montana values have never wavered.
Jon Tester delivers on everything we ever asked for.
Jon doesn't care about party. He just does what's right for Montana.
Now, the first statement of fact in that advertisement we're going to tackle tonight, quote, John got over 20 bills signed into law by President Trump. And folks, we rate this statement as true. During President Trump's 4 years in office, from 2017 to 2020, Senator Tester was a sponsor, co-sponsor, or helped write part of nearly 40 bills that President signed into law. Tester had his hands on dozens of bills that became laws under the Trump administration. Now, the second statement of fact is, quote, he stood up to Biden on the Keystone Pipeline. And we rate this statement also true. Tester was one of a very few Democrats in D.C. to stand up to the Biden administration's decision to shut down the pipeline, even as early as 2015, supporting the construction of the pipeline that would run through northeastern Montana. Biden canceled that building permit on the very first day he took office in January of 2021. Now, back in February of 2021, Tester sent this letter to the president saying in part, quote, I'm writing to encourage you to reconsider your decision to cancel the presidential permit for the Keystone XL pipeline. This project has the potential to support thousands of good-paying jobs, increase tax revenue into local communities, and support a safer, more effective alternative to transporting fossil fuel by truck or railroad, end quote. Now, the third statement of fact is this, quote, he passed the PACT Act for veterans with toxic exposure. You see it right there. We rate this statement tonight, folks, as true. Tester, along with Congress, passed the PACT Act in August of 2022, helping provide health care services for veterans across the country who have been exposed to toxic waste while serving overseas. Now, the senator helped write this piece of legislation, even co-sponsoring it as well. He, alongside Republican Senator Jerry Moran of Kansas, championed this bill and helped get it across the finish line. Overall, folks, the claims in this advertisement for Senator Jon Tester have been truth-tracked, and they are all factual. And my team and I will continue to truth-track political advertisements over the next few weeks right here on Nonstop Local, helping you know what's true, what's not true before you cast your vote for the general election. And by the way, next week, we're going to tackle a political ad that you've probably seen on your television from Tester's opponent, Tim Sheehy. That's next week on Nonstop Local. One of the top political issues in our country today is abortion. It's a mission that's filled with passion from both sides, and it's a policy that will be in front of Montana voters this coming November. So let's go back to the Help Me Ben Truth Tracker, where we put Tim Sheehy's positions on abortion under the microscope, helping discern fact and fiction, and of course providing context when needed. First, let's show you the advertisement. And folks, to be clear, this is not an ad sponsored by Senator Jon Tester, but by the Liberal Political Action Committee, Win Senate. Here it is in full.
Tim Sheehy's position on abortion is one of the most extreme in the country. He's ready to end it right now.
I want all to end tomorrow.
He's called abortion murder, and he's against the initiative protecting abortion rights here in Montana. As senator, Sheehy could help pass a national abortion ban, even if a woman is raped. Tim Sheehy Radically wrong for Montana. Radically wrong on abortion.
I want it all to end tomorrow.
When Senate is responsible for the content of this ad.
So there's a lot there to parse through and talk about, so let's take these one by one. First, let's focus on that audio clip where you hear he say, quote, "I want it all to end tomorrow." We rate this statement as half true. That's real audio you hear from Sheehy. That's from a campaign event that he spoke at in Kalispell back in December for the Flathead County Republican Women Open House. He, of course, criticizing the state of California for being pro-abortion. Now, here's the full audio clip from the Heartland Signal. It's a progressive radio station in Chicago. They were the ones who obtained and released that full audio on their social media a few weeks ago.
I find abortion to be a terrible, terrible thing. I want it all to end tomorrow. You know, if California says, you know, we're going to fund abortions with California taxpayer dollars all day long, I think it's terrible and disgusting. But you know what? If that's what the California voters want to do with their state, okay. You know, I think it's sinful. I think it's terrible. I think it's a repulsive thing to do. But, you know, that's what California decided to do.
Now, the reason it's half true is Sheehy has publicly contradicted himself on that statement that he made about wanting to, quote, end it all. Most recently, this past week in the Senate debate with Jon Tester, Sheehy said that he is in favor of protecting a few abortion options for women, but there has to be certain instances. Here's that clip.
My position on abortion has been common sense. I support the exceptions, rape, incest, life of the mother. I support the right of a mother to make those challenges an incredibly challenging, you know, tumultuous time in their life.
Now, the second claim made in this political advertisement about Tim Sheehy and abortion is, quote, he is against the initiative protecting abortion rights here in Montana. We rate that statement as true, but of course needs some context. Now, that initiative that the ad is referring to, Constitutional Initiative 128, which, by the way, is in front of you, the Montana voter, this coming November. It would codify abortion rights into the Montana Constitution, specifically stating that abortion is protected under the Constitution in the state of Montana, of course, further cementing it into law of the state. Now, Sheehy is against the initiative from passing, of course, but the context is that he said in the debate this past week that he would support the will of the Montana voter.
Well, the ballot initiative will be, if it passes, will be the will of the people. I'm a law and order candidate who believes in our Constitution, both of our state and our federal government. And if the people of Montana vote for it and it passes, then it's the law of the land.
Now, the third claim is, quote, as senator, Sheehy could help pass a national abortion ban even if a woman is raped. We rate that statement as half true and, of course, need some context as well. Yes, if elected, Tim Sheehy could theoretically vote on a national abortion ban if one ever does come up in front of Congress. But according to Sheehy, as well as former President Donald Trump, both men have publicly avoided talking about a national abortion ban and have really not given a clear answer on that subject. They believe abortion should not be a federal issue. Instead, the decision about abortion should rest with each individual state. It would allow the state legislature to set abortion limits and timeframes, something that Sheehy himself, as United States Senator, would have no control over in terms of voting or opinion in our capital, in Helena. Overall, folks, we rate this ad as mostly true. Tim Sheehy does want to end elective abortions here in Montana with protections for rape, incest, and the health of the mother. He does not support putting abortion rights into the Montana Constitution, but will respect the will of the Montana voter. And he has not stated if he would vote on a hypothetical national abortion ban, believing that something like that should be in the hands of the Montana legislature to decide. And my team and I will continue to truth track political advertisements over the next few weeks, helping you know what's true and what's not true before you cast your vote for the general election. We'll see you next week with the latest Help Me Ben Truth Tracker right here on Nonstop Local. Well, folks, your absentee ballots have been sent out all across Big Sky Country this weekend, which means the state of Montana, we're officially voting. We want to help make sure that you have an informed vote as you get inundated with political ad after political ad. You want to know what's true and what's not true. So let's focus on the U.S. House District 1 race between incumbent Republican Ryan Zinke and his challenger, Democrat Monica Tranel. Let's start with an anti-Zinke ad this week, put together not by Tranel or her campaign, but by the House Majority Political Action Committee. First, here's that ad in full.
Montana's heritage is not for sale.
Or is it?
While in office, Ryan Zinke used his position to broker land deals to benefit himself.
He's part of the reason why our housing costs are skyrocketing.
No wonder he was under federal investigation 18 times.
Including allegations of corruption.
And using his office for personal gain.
Montana land
sold out
by a man who put
Profit
over
people.
HMP is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Okay, so the first claim, Ryan Zinke, quote, used his position to broker land deals to benefit himself. Now, for the first time in this series, folks, of Truth Tracking, we are not going to give this claim a rating. And here's why. This is a case of ethics versus criminality. While he was Secretary of the Interior under former President Donald Trump, Zinke came under formal investigation for a land deal that he was trying to create with the chairman of Halliburton. The chairman, David Lassar, was attempting to build a hotel and retail development in Zinke's hometown of Whitefish, with Zinke and his wife becoming the owner of a new microbrewery in that development. Now, the reason why we can't label this claim is because Ryan Zinke was, in fact, found to have committed ethics violations in that land deal. The investigation was conducted by the Interior Department, by the way, his own department. But the U.S. Justice Department subsequently decided to not press criminal charges after they found no evidence of specific favors towards Halliburton. Now, the second claim made in this ad is Ryan Zinke is, quote, part of the reason why our housing costs are skyrocketing. We rate this claim as false. And the reason is because the claim is too big of a stretch and simply too vague. This has to do with the 3 Airbnb properties that Zinke and his family own in Whitefish. Yes, studies have shown that the rise in short-term rental properties have led to housing price increases in multiple places in Montana, including Whitefish. But it is a reach to say that those specific Airbnbs, the only 3 of them at that, contribute to the rise in housing prices. Zinke's staff also points to his record in Congress on trying to fight housing costs, including sponsoring several bills to provide housing relief for first-time homeowners, Native Americans, and veterans. Now, the third claim in this ad is, quote, no wonder he was under federal investigation 18 times, including allegations of corruption and using his office for personal gain. We rate this claim as true. Ryan Zinke has, in fact, been under federal investigation 18 times. Some of those investigations do involve corruption and personal gain. As always, let's provide you some context. Now, Zinke was investigated 18 times during his time as Interior Secretary for a variety of reasons, as seen right here on your screen, including lavish travel expenses, backroom real estate deals, staff dismissals due to politics, and unnecessary office renovations using taxpayer dollars. Now, a critical part of this, Zinke was being investigated by the Department of Justice, the head of which is the Attorney General, who, by the way, is appointed by the President. And the President at the time of the investigations, Donald Trump. Also critical to note is that on December 15th of 2018, Zinke officially resigned as Trump's Interior Secretary. He said in his resignation letter that, quote, the vicious and politically motivated attacks created an unfortunate distraction in fulfilling the agency's mission. Overall, folks, we rate this political advertisement attacking Representative Ryan Zinke as mostly false. Yes, Zinke was found to be unethical in his business dealings with Halliburton, but he was not found criminally liable. And the claim that Ryan Zinke is part of the reason why our housing costs are skyrocketing, that's just a reach. And finally, yes, Ryan Zinke was under federal investigation 18 times during his time as Secretary of the Interior, which ultimately led him to resign from his position. And folks, if you've missed any of our other Truth Trackers, you can head to montanarightnow.com/Truth Tracker, where you can see how we rate claims made against Senator Jon Tester and Senate candidate Tim Sheehy. That's up for you right now, helping you make an informed vote for U.S. Senate. Our Help Me Ben team and I will continue to walk you through what's true and what's not true as we inch closer and closer to Election Day. It is coming down the tracks, folks. Trust your election headquarters right here on Nonstop Local.